G'day everyone, welcome to another edition of Guvs Hero Review videos. Today we are going to be continuing in our Mechanoid series, taking a look at the 5-star legendary red hero, Cutlass, the Staunch Construction Robot. Now Cutlass is available for summons as we saw during the Mechanoid Menace portal, which rolls around once every 8 weeks. It is on a month-on, month-off rotation with the other Alliance event, the Monster Island event. Unfortunately, this portal doesn't have any featured heroes. You can see there's nothing on the left-hand side there, which means that when you're summoning, there is a 1.2% chance to get any event 5-star hero, so it's as likely to be Cutlass as any of the other legendary heroes. Cutlass is part of a newer batch of heroes added to the Mech Menace family, introduced in April 2022 alongside Shutdown and Gearbox, roughly a year after the initial event released in March 2021. The portal was further expanded in a June 2023 update with Mastodon, but those are all review videos for other heroes, so check out some different videos for those. Heading back over to, or I am going to head over to an image, and we can take a look at Cutlass's artwork. So thank you very much to Slayer and Joe EML for passing this along, because I don't actually own Cutlass. So this is his artwork. It's very much sort of that space robot construction trope. He's got like a welding flame torch, like an oxy torch there, and then like, I guess a laser sword cutter thing. But yeah, it is a fairly common trope in most sci-fi for construction robots to be built, you know, staunch and bulky and square and boxy kind of thing. It is a gender neutral sort of vibe, but in my head, I've sort of looked at it and gone, no, that would totally be a male voice actor if it was in a movie. So yeah, if you hear me say he and his a lot, that's why, but it is probably a they-them sort of situation. Cool, that's the artwork. So heading back over to the portal, and we'll take a look at his family bonus. So he is a member of the Mechanoids family, which means that he gains a plus 12, 18, 24 or 30% chance to execute a support attack against the main target of an ally's special skill when there are 2, 3, 4 or 5 members of the Mechanoid family in battle. Note that they do have to be unique family members, so you can't bring along 2 copies of Cutlass. It's got to be like Cutlass and Mastodon, or Cutlass and Booster, for example. Support attack, for those that don't know, is just a 100% snipe damage, and in the case of this support attack, it is triggered by an ally special skill. So an ally member shoots a hero, there's a X percentage chance that Cutlass is also going to deal 100% damage to that target as well. The Mechanoid families will also gain a stat bonus when used during the Mechanoid event stages. Specifically, they'll gain plus 4, 8, 12, 16 or 20% attack if you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 unique members of the Mechanoids heroes in your team. Note that this only applies when they're used in Mechanoid event stages. It doesn't apply during any other format of the game. In terms of his stats, Cutlass comes in with 704 attack, 748 defense, and 1441 HP. Not really any skewing, maybe a little bit from the attack stat towards the HP stat, but it's not anything substantial there. His charge speed is set to 40, which is slow and requires 12 tiles to charge, or 6 ghosted tiles. A speed break needs plus 3, which is possible using any of the speed guns in the game, including the 4-star Tigger Happy. A double break requires plus 10, which you can't do using weapons alone, but you can get a double break if you go a plus 9 speed gun combined with his 2% class node at plus 19. That'll get you the double break. Speaking of his class, Cutlass is a member of the Warfighter class, which grants the chance to revive with 1 HP after taking what would normally be fatal damage. So the Warfighter class is one which can be game-changing. It can turn the tide of a battle very quickly and very easily, and it has historically has had some bugs going on, both proven ones and conspiracy ones. So yeah, generally speaking, it's a talent that I do recommend putting at least plus 1 on, just to activate the chance at reviving in a battle. By way of an emblem path, I would recommend going a defense and HP route. So what that looks like can be seen on a Yumi, where I find her. There she is. So this is what the path would look like for Cutlass. So we'd be going defense and HP at each node that we go, prioritizing defense over HP. So we can see we've gone defense here, defense and HP, defense HP, defense, defense HP, and then defense at the end there. The plus 19 node is relevant if you want to get that double break with a plus 9 gun, so you can go down to plus 19, as I have here with a Yumi. So yeah, that's sort of the path that I would take for Cutlass if you are going to emblem him. Screenshot, pause if you need to, as desired. Heading back over to the portal, and we can have a look at his special skills. So his special skill is titled Cutting Edge, and at level 10 skill and 40 charge speed will deal 170% damage to all enemies, and then apply a minus 48% defense ailment for 3 turns against red to all enemies, and then finally it will burn all enemies for minus 309 HP over 3 turns, which is a 103 HP tick per turn. So breaking that apart a little bit, we'll start with the damage. So damage is hard to calculate because of the various factors that feed into the damage calculation, but what we can compare heroes on is their attack power, which is just their attack stat multiplied by the percentage in their special skill. So in the case of Cutlass, he comes in with 704 attack and 170% damage, which comes in an attack power of 1,197. Because the heroes have different charge speeds across the different regions, I then divide by the number of tiles, and then that gives us the attack power per tile. So for Cutlass, that comes in at 100, which is really bad on the red 5-star DOA 5 arena. It is the worst of the options, and there's no real way around it. You can, I guess, bolster his damage output with elemental defense down and stuff, but it's hard to do when Cutlass is the EDD hero, because you're not really going to bring 2 Cutlasses in a war situation, because that kind of wastes the red elemental defense down ailment. He is going to get some improvement though from that burn ailment. It actually roughly triples his damage output, which is more showing how poor Cutlass's damage is, rather than necessarily showing how good his damage output, like how good that burn is. So yeah, there's no real way around it. His damage isn't great. It's only 100 attack power per tile on each of the enemies, but ultimately it's not necessarily a bad thing, because I don't really see his damage as being the primary thing for him. It's not going to make or break Cutlass, because I think for me, his primary ability is really that elemental defense down. That's what is his primary function in any team. So the elemental defense debuff is probably the best debuff you can bring along to fights, because it will improve your entire red stack against, in this case, all enemies. It's most valuable when you've got color stacking situations, so for raid attacks, war attacks, events, and even war machines. And because of how the damage calculation actually works, a minus 48% defense debuff at red comes in at roughly an improvement, like a total damage of 225% of what it would be without that debuff. So that's a massive improvement in damage output just from one debuff. Yeah, so the final line of his skill is the application of the burn ailment, so minus 309 HP to all enemies over 3 turns. This is pretty in line with most other burners. Most burners come in with this 309 damage, and in the case of Cutlass, because of his poor damage output, it is actually quite a substantial improvement in his damage when he does it for the full 3 turns. Not much more to say on the burn. It is a good effect. It does bolster his effectiveness. So overall, Cutlass is actually a pretty good hero. He'll make your red stack teams all the more powerful. His direct damage, it's not great, but it is improved quite a lot by the burner ailment, so there is that. The unfortunate thing for Cutlass is that the hero that you're most likely to compare him to is probably Rudolph, right? Both of them are AoE 5 hitters. Both of them do elemental defense down against red to all enemies, and both of them are similar, like that's sort of, yeah. Where they sort of differ a lot though is that Rudolph gets down, the other thing that's similar to them is they both can actually charge in 10 tiles. Where they differ though is Rudolph can get there with just a +9 gun, or +7 speed improvement, whereas Cutlass needs to have both the +9 gun and the speed node. So there is a speed difference between the two of them, and it is harder to get the 10 tiles charge speed on Cutlass. The other thing that they differ quite a lot on is that Rudolph does have better direct damage. We saw that in the graph there, but he also has a dispel to all enemies and will generate armor after dispelling. Cutlass, he's got the burn ailment, which it's good, but I personally prefer the dispel and the self armor generation, because that leads to better survival on Rudolph, which leads to more likely casts of the red elemental defense down element. So personally, I prefer Rudolph of the two. I I don't like having to go all the way to plus 19 to get the double speed break or the 10 tile charge rate, which just soaks up a lot of tiles that I could use on other heroes. So that's not saying that Cutlass is bad or anything. He's still a great hero. It's just that Rudolph is slightly better. So if you've got the choice between the two, I'd go Rudolph over Cutlass. But in terms of Rudolph's grading, Cutlass's grading, he is still a very good hero. So for raiding and war attacks, he does get an A- grade. For war machines, this comes up to an A grade just because of how powerful elemental defense down is in war machine situations. In events, I'm going to give him an A- because again, he is still contributing a lot to a red stack if you use red heroes in events. So that he is very good there as well. For raid and war defense situations though, I am going to give him a C+. He's not really well suited to defense because he doesn't have huge damage output, he doesn't have huge survival or anything like that. He does rely on having a second red hitter in the team. So if you're going to position him, he'd probably be best on the left side of the tank, so like left flank, and then having another red hitter on the right side of the tank, so either in right flank or right wing, depending on where you're positioning. But you definitely need 2 red heroes on your defense team if you're going to put Cutlass in there. In the tournament setting, so I'm going to give him for Bloody Battle, he does get an A- and a C+. He does have the burn ailment, which does work nicely in these things because it is annoying to have DOT ticks going on because you're unlikely to bring a cleanser because most cleansers are tied to healers, which you wouldn't use. In Buff Booster, I'm going to give him an A- and a C grade as well. And for Charged Attack, he goes up to an A grade and a B- for that situation. So overall, very, very good hero. Solid in attack, not so much on defense because of you really needing that red hero, double red hero to work at it to his full effect. So overall, his grade comes in at an A- for attack and a C+ for defense. And that concludes the content for this review of Cutlass. As always, these are just my personal opinions on these heroes. I love hearing your thoughts and feedback on the heroes and the videos, so please jump down to the comments section, leave me a note. I love reading them and I try to reply to as many of you as I can. If you did enjoy the video and found the content to be useful, like the video, subscribe to my channel, there's heaps more stuff like this around, but most importantly, share the video around, because if you found it to be useful for you, chances are it's also going to be useful to the people you play with as well. Thank you once again for joining me for this review. I do hope I will see you again soon, but until then, stay safe, good luck, and happy gaming. Cheers, bye!